Amen. Yes, that's good. That's good. Break every chain. Break every chain. Say it with me. Break every chain. There's a story of an old Cherokee who was teaching his grandson about life. And the Cherokee told his grandson, inside of each of us, there's a terrible fight. A fight between two wolves. One is the dark side, which is evil. He is angry, envious, sorrowful, regretful, greedy, arrogant, pitiful, guilty, resentful, inferior, lies, false pride, feels superior, and has an ego. He continued the other side. The light side is good, joyful, full of peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every person that is here. The grandson thought for a minute, then he asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? Now here's how we've heard the end of the story. We've heard where the Cherokee tells his grandson, the one that you feed. But in Cherokee tradition, there's another part of the story. The old Cherokee replies, if you feed them right, they both win. This implies that if you choose only to feed the light or the dark side, you have resentment from the other. The dark side will be hiding if it's refused. It will be hiding at every corner, waiting for the moment that you're distracted, waiting for the moment that you're weak, waiting for the moment to get its own attention. He will always be angry, always be fighting, always be resentful of the light side. But if you acknowledge him, he is happy, and the light is happy, and both win. The dark side of us has many qualities that the light does not have. The dark side has tenacity, courage, fearlessness, strong will, strategic thinking, things that the light side of us does not have in common. The light has compassion, caring, strength, the ability to recognize what is in the best interest of all. We're taught to be children of light. And we're to shun everything that does not reflect the true image of what we think is the ideal. You're meant to be a certain way, and you're taught to respond and behave according with what conforms with our tradition, our culture. And you're to shun everything else. So we live trying to be this person that part of us does not really recognize or identify with. But there's a side of us that wants to express itself. And because we're constantly keeping that side at bay, that side tends to act out at times. It tends to be resentful, angry, abusive, have character traits that you do not recognize, and that you're constantly trying to hold back within ourselves. He tells his son, the light side needs the dark side. And by only feeding one and starving the other, both become uncontrollable. To feed and care for both means that both will serve you well, and nothing that is part of one will be greater than the other. Feed both, and there'll be no more internal struggle within you. We have to learn how to nurture every aspect of our being. Part of us wants to follow the status quo. Part of us wants to do things that just are not common, things that are not ordinary. There are at least 8 trails in the United States that are 1,200 miles to 2,200 miles long. The longest being the Appalachian, which is 2,200 miles. And you can only travel those trails within a certain period of time, and it takes maybe 4 to 6 months to complete them. And around this time of the year is when all of the hikers, thousands, are embarking upon these trails. 1,000 to 2,200 miles. It'll take them 4 to 6 months to complete. I talked to a gentleman, I was in a pastor's group, we talked to a gentleman who was on one of those trails. He's on day number 15. He says he's covering about 10 miles per day, but he has to lighten everything because there are a lot of people that are passing him up. Because you have to complete a certain amount within a certain period of time if you want to complete it. Because by the time you get to your destination, winter is coming. And it'll be too cold to complete it, so you only have a certain amount of time to complete this journey. After to him, my question was, why? Why? There's some part of us that wants to climb higher mountains, that wants to get outside of what is normal and acceptable and what everybody perceives to be where you should be. There's a part of us that wants to roam free, wants to travel higher, wants to face the challenges in life. But we're taught to behave and it's okay, we're brought back down to reality when part of us were never meant to be reality. At age 7 years old, at 7, I wanted to be a doctor. I had no idea where that came from. I did not know any doctors, no doctors in my family. I'd never even been to a doctor. But somehow that was given to me. But at age 17, rather than enrolling in college or med school, I rolled into a vocational school to become an auto mechanic. Somewhere within that 10-year span, my reality had changed my dream, rather than my dream changing my reality. Your dream was given to you to change wherever you happen to be. But there are situations and places where you grow up that's going to try and keep you in your environment, but you're not meant to live there. You're meant to live way beyond that place. But there's something in us that wants to stay in there and please everybody around you. I wanted to please my mother, my father, my family, those around me, and everybody was happy but me. I don't know if you identify with that. Where everybody is, you just want everybody to be happy with you, but you're not happy with you. Because there's a part of you that resists where you are and wants to be free. But we do not recognize, not give that voice and that freedom to the very nature that deserves it. I believe that our greatest is not even expressed yet. Our greatest is still yet to come. I believe it. But it will not be found in the conforms of what we think. It will be found way outside of you. Something that is more daring that you could ever thought possible, something that you never thought you could do was meant for you. As I talk about that trail, some of us are saying, I would never do that. Somebody says, Pastor, where is that trail again? Because there's an excitement to it. There's a part of us that wants to live free. It wants to soar. It wants to go where no one else goes. It wants to realize that potential that very few people have. That's what God gives us. That's a gift that God gives us. But we continue to feed the part of us that looks the part and acts the part, acceptable. And we tend to starve the part of us that really is trying to express the better part and the greater part.